Boy, we've been hitting this one hard. Collaboration over conflict, a new model for dental success. And I want to start today by talking about something that almost every dentist and practice owner I know has experienced at some point in their career. And I'm joined today with my sweetheart, Tracy.
Hi.
And what have you seen out there? Be quick.
Oh boy, frustration. We'll start there.
That's it. And we begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all of you fantastic dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now, the host of our show, the clinical director and president at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Sounds like a lot of dental team members are frustrated.
Slightly.
So you're saying there should be a collaboration instead of conflict?
Yes.
What do you see out there with dental teams and the dentists we serve on frustration?
So not only frustration with each other, unfortunately, they get frustrated with coworkers, but I'm talking about frustration.
Wait. I got it. Last week, I'm working on a patient, right? And we're training a couple newbies, you know. This is so funny. I'm working on the patient, literally. And I'd section the tooth. I'm, using a luxator, peritome, going back and forth. And I'm on the peritome at first. And I'm getting the root to wiggle. And all of a sudden, we have rear delivery units, and my wonderful assistant decided to rest her elbow on the control panel. I guess I've been overworking her, and up goes the patient. Chair's going up. Like, I guess I'm done. I guess you're okay. Ready to be dismissed. You don't make that stuff up, man. You just don't make that stuff.
I don't think she would have noticed if you hadn't have said something.
If I hadn't said anything, I just stared at her the whole time.
End of year, I think we're all burnt out. I have to just say that's probably what happened with her.
Anyway, okay. But I wasn't frustrated by all means.
Oh, no, not at all.
Actually, I was entertained.
It's true.
There's comes a point in time, docs, when you're training and you just have to laugh. Anyway, but
so I'm talking about frustration with insurance companies and frustration with contracts. Oh, the ones that you read all the time, right? That you've read through. Frustration with your reimbursement fees. Frustrations with being unheard or feeling unheard. And so that frustration boils over. And when that happens, dentists are told one of two things. You signed a contract, or just drop your insurance. And I've heard this from state associations, from leaders in the dental industry, from colleagues online especially. And I struggle with it, not because it's always wrong, but it's become the default answers. And default answers don't solve those systemic problems. So here's the reality of all that we're navigating. Dental insurance is changing.
What do you mean?
Meaning we're starting to watch, and it's been really interesting, and this is what I have observed. Okay, one time dental insurance was good. Then it wasn't, and that happened pretty quickly.
Okay, well,
right?
The time it was good was like 40 years
I know,
ago.
I'm not saying timeline-wise, but then it turned bad. And ultimately, we saw the changes really get the worst in 2021, and people are doing the knee-jerk reaction of dropping insurance. Now, we're going to talk about the cycle that usually happens when people do this in a little bit. But I'm starting to watch as dental insurances try to change how they work with the providers in order to be different. And this goes against what I initially teach, which the insurance companies have standardized products. They sell the same stuff, same caps on maximum, same downgrade, same coverage percentages. And so when you have a product that's similar, the only way that you can compete is through price. Now, that's called it's pure competition, so to speak. But I'm starting to watch as these insurance companies are changing how they interact and reimburse providers and work with providers and patients in order to differentiate themselves from the other insurance companies. And so I'm going to start watching this. I'm going to do another podcast on this as I start seeing examples, but it's been pretty cool to watch. And the proof's in the pudding, especially with watching how they've been working with us in an effort to change their policies, which has been really cool. Now, another reality is that the trust in the ADA is declining. Now, this is something that we just have to acknowledge. Now, DSOs are supposedly expanding rapidly, but we are watching as DSOs are not as profitable as they say they will be or are. And so that's interesting to watch still. Now,
so let me back up for a minute. So trust in the dental association is declining.
It is.
And that we've seen that like this past year, 2025, because of the claim of misusing funds, which I think there's two sides to that story. And you and I both know that there's two sides to that story.
Absolutely.
But there's that perception of the misuse of funds. And, the other thing I've seen in the social media networks is the fact that the ADA is really supporting DSOs.
Yeah.
It's one thing to support the doctors, but it's another thing to support the DSOs. Now, the DSOs, when you say they're expanding rapidly,
I think they're
I think they're
imploding in a sense. So
Okay.
we've been watching a lot of things where they're claiming to be expanding.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that's happening.
So what we're seeing on the I think what you meant by expanding rapidly the DSOs, their storyline is.
Yes.
The storyline is expanding. They're trying to promote themselves more and more. But what we're seeing is the implosion because the promise of multiples on earnings for people that are selling out to the DSOs, that has gone in the toilet.
And I think that that's why there's a rush and a push with marketing for fear of missing out, in the sense that you need to get on this board, on this train.
On the DSO train.
And you need to sign up with us quickly because it's going to be done soon. And so there's going to be a big push, I believe, in the next 1 to 2 years for DSOs to try to grow as quickly as possible with number of providers so they can sell quickly before this all falls apart.
Implodes.
It's going to implode.
Yeah.
But now we have also the independent practices that are trying to survive, grow, and plan for the future. We don't want to sell out to DSOs for the most part. And so there's that struggle of, how do I create a successful business? And dentists are really asking, what does success even look like anymore? Because they're struggling to find the right resources. And so in the middle of this, we keep repeating this pattern, which I alluded to earlier, which brings me to a quote that most of us know, right? The definition of insanity. And that's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And so this is what I see happening in dentistry. Robbie, you tell me if you see this too. But ultimately, this is the cycle that I've watched. So a dentist or a team member, but I'll say a dentist, gets frustrated with insurance. So they reach out to the insurance company, often without fully understanding their own contract that they didn't read, or knowing what questions actually matter, or knowing their state laws. So they don't ask the right question to begin with, and the conversation doesn't go well. So they feel dismissed, misunderstood, or shut down because of it. So then they go to their association looking for support, and they're told, you signed a contract, just drop insurance. And so they listen and they drop the insurance companies. Now, we see that when you knee-jerk react like that and you drop insurance, very rarely does it turn out positive. So these guys struggle, they lose patience, they lose predictability, and they lose growth. And then eventually they say, never mind, I'm going to go back into network. And the entire cycle happens all over again. They just get frustrated again. They try to figure it out. They drop them again. So this isn't a strategy. It's really a survival mode. And it's fueled by this us versus them mentality.
Well, and that's because they've never been taught how to work with the insurance companies. And they've never been taught how to be profitable by procedure. They think that profitability means working harder, not smarter.
Mm-hmm.
They become the hamster on the wheel, cram the schedule.
Cramming the schedule is huge. We see that a lot.
Yeah.
You get the consultants that say, optimize your schedule, and they try to get you to do all these scheduling blocks that never work.
Yeah. So the us versus them mentality is propagated all the time by certain types of coaches.
Well, and everybody says it's dentists versus insurance. But again, you've got to look at things from different perspectives. And I look at that going, well, if I worked for an insurance company, I would see the dentist as potentially the enemy, right? So that us versus them just has got to go.
Yeah.
Providers versus payers is another way of saying it. But what about the practices versus associations? Rob, have you seen that?
And that's where we see the decline in the dentists that are joining the associations. We've seen that decline happen over the course of many years, because the top 5 issues that dentists all have to do with profitability and PPO reimbursements.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody talks about, the control that third-party payers have on the quality of deliverable dental care and the reimbursement rates. Those and if you can think about it as cutting out the middleman, charging the patient directly for value-added service instead of the insurance company taking their cut and that value-added service profitability being cut in half. And many of you don't fully understand what I'm talking about there. You think you have an idea of it, but you really don't. Until you've been through our training or you've listened to enough of our podcasts that you're becoming aware. But it's like this cycle continues because you're not profitable. And while that mindset feels validating when you're frustrated, it's not productive. And conflict might feel powerful in the moment, but conflict without collaboration doesn't create change. It creates distance. It causes us to be defensive. It guarantees that both sides just stop listening.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, you get a doctor who says either you change or I'm going out of network. Well, you're threatening now and you're turning into the bully. So if it were me, even think about that with patients. If a patient tries to take that mentality to me, why would I want to collaborate with them?
Yeah. If, I could go somewhere else and get it cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go somewhere else and get it cheaper then.
So if dentistry wants to keep framing insurance companies as the enemy, and insurance companies keep framing the providers as the problem, then nobody wins.
Not the dentist?
No, not the insurance company either.
And definitely not the patient, because again, dental reimbursement rates are set for the least expensive professionally accepted treatment, not the more expensive professionally accepted treatment, not MEPAT services. Their fees are set for LEPAT services. So why don't more dental offices attempt real collaboration? Why don't they? It's what we teach and train on all the time. Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of retaliation, of audits, of conflict, fear of asking the wrong question, fear of actually charging for what you do. Dentists fear being profitable. Dentists fear challenging the status quo. And office managers and dentists are often hesitant to reach out because they assume any pushback is going to punish them or put them on a blacklist. And because they don't like confrontation, and who does? I don't. I know some of you think I do, but I really don't.
Yeah.
So they avoid the conversation entirely, and that fear sends them right back into the vicious cycle.
Yep, but here's what's really interesting as we're talking about this. I'm thinking about that book that we use in our trainings, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Yeah.
And at the bottom of this pyramid with a team is trust. And when you trust, you are not afraid of conflict.
No.
And this is where it's interesting.
And it doesn't mean yelling at each other.
No, not at all.
No,
conflict is actually having a discussion with something that needs to be changed or addressed. And so currently, this sounds really weird, but I feel that we have created a relationship with the majority of these insurance companies where they trust that the intent of the discussions is to make it mutually beneficial for both parties. And it took a while for that trust to really be there. And because I trust that they're going to be 100% open and honest with me. And again, I trust you until I don't, right?
Right.
I am not afraid of hard conversations with these insurance companies. And so the fear and trust needs to be removed.
Nothing changes if one party refuses to engage in that, right? And that's where Utah, that's where we stand apart from the rest of the nation, I feel like, when it comes to insurance reform. Because when we worked to pass the first bundling law in the nation in 2021, it didn't start with accusations or threats or hostility. We kind of thought it was going to.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But our state legislator did something incredibly important, the one we worked with. He encouraged us to sit down with the insurance companies, number one, voice our concerns clearly. That was the second thing he had us do. The third thing is listen to their concerns and then find common ground through the compromise was the fourth point. There wasn't any yelling. Voices got raised a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there was a little bit of posturing that happened.
but yeah.
But it wasn't really us versus them.
Well, the us versus them it felt like that in the beginning, but then it just turned into conversation.
Yeah.
And that's where, and quite honestly, sweetheart, that's your skill set. The goal wasn't to punish insurance companies. Yours wasn't. Mine was. The goal was not to force increased coverage or payments because their premiums don't justify that. That's what people need to understand is they live in a competitive world. The goal was just clarity. And because of that approach, we passed a law that protected dental practices, protected the patients they served, and ensured that insurance companies were not financially harmed by dentists actually being able to charge the patients additional fees for value-added services or just to get paid fairly for what we do. What a concept.
Yep. And since that law was passed, Utah's gone on to pass 4 additional insurance laws in 2025, and we've got 4 more, hopefully this year.
Yeah. When you say Utah's gone on, let me be very clear. Tracy and a little bit of I keep saying that, but Tracy's been the biggest advocate for dentists in the state of Utah and beyond.
And you know what, office managers, if you're listening to this podcast, this is where I need to say, stop looking for other people to make change. You're the ones that are in the front lines experiencing this, and try to connect with people to explain to them what's going on and how it's affecting your patients. Watch how many cool things you can do when you surround yourself with people who listen and advocate for you.
And let us help you.
Yeah.
That's another thing too.
Now, one of the laws that we passed about last 2025 now.
Yeah.
I honestly expected significant pushback from these insurance companies.
I was shocked we didn't.
I was ready to go. We were actually, do you remember where we were? We were in California. We were doing a lecture.
And
I had
Patterson
to stop
Dental.
and sit in the car.
and we finished the presentation and had to get on a Zoom call with all the insurance players and the state legislator, the insurance commissioner in Utah. There we were in our car with it raining outside.
We'll do whatever we can, right?
Whatever it takes.
But here's the thing. I expected a lot of pushback with this law. And it was funny because, again, the ADA hasn't said anything about this law. It's pretty powerful. And
the four additional laws we passed in 25.
But with the particular law, when that pushback didn't come, I kind of had to ask myself why, because I expected threats. Why weren't there threats? Why weren't there resistance? Why wasn't there retaliation? And the answer goes back to trust. The insurance companies from the beginning understood our intent of passing these laws. They knew that we weren't trying to game the system. I gave them specific examples of why that law was so important to protect the patients and the providers, as well as the insurance companies. They knew we weren't trying to exploit patients or the insurance companies themselves. We were just trying to be paid fairly. We wanted to make sure that we created clarity in language, and we were trying to restore respect in the dental profession.
As we're preparing right now to pass what was 3 more laws.
It's 4 now.
But now 4 because we're actually adding a law to help the insurance.
Now it's 5 then.
Oh.
I think I added 1 when you did.
Oh, that's right. No, I know what you're talking about. So actually 5 because we we have 5 laws we're passing, and one of the 5 laws is to actually protect the insurance carriers from, abuse
Yeah.
from dental practices, which they express to us, and there's a handful of practices that do this. And so we said, well, let us protect you, because that makes sense to us. They shouldn't, dental offices shouldn't be doing what they're doing to you guys. So
now I have other questions about these laws that we're working on. So number one, why does it work here in Utah?
Yeah.
Why can we have an open conversation with these insurance executives without the fear of retaliation?
And why aren't these discussions adversarial? Because we've already proven what collaboration can accomplish. There's a shared understanding that dentists deserve respect, and insurance companies deserve respect and sustainability, just like we do. And patients deserve transparency and access. And that mutual understanding, that didn't happen overnight. That happened with, again, Tracy.
It's that paradigm shift.
Communication, constantly respecting them, and then in turn them respecting us, to the point where they understand we're not trying to take advantage of them. We're not trying to take advantage of the patient. We're trying to just be paid fairly for the services we provide and not have it be grief.
So this is a different angle of this podcast, because I'm really going to focus on insurance companies. If you represent a dental insurance company and you're listening to this podcast, I want you to hear this clearly. You have an opportunity right now. You can change the narrative with dentistry, but this is going to require a few things from you and your team. It requires sitting down at the table. It requires listening with an open mind, correcting misinformation instead of ignoring it, and engaging providers before frustration turns into fear, and then they turn around and drop you or say things that are not true or turn to people that give misinformation. So I would recommend you also reward your loyal doctors, not the ones that threaten to leave if you change. The doctors who choose to stay and do great work, those are the ones you want to reward. You want to support the providers who stay engaged. You want to invest in provider relations specialists who can advocate for both sides, which we have seen, which is super cool.
And in Utah, we are proof that this model works, because this is for the first time, a representative from the UDA actually got to sit in on a conversation, the negotiating conversations that Tracy has with the insurance companies, that's directed by the state legislator. He's the one that says, Trace, will you call these 5 insurance companies, talk with them about the laws you want to pass, get their feedback. In the very beginning, it was we all sat down on a Zoom meeting and did it. And now the legislator trusts Tracy enough, trusts our company enough to say, you call them, get their feedback, and then include me in on the emails. And the emails go out to everybody and showing that, insurance company A, B, and C supports our legislative efforts 100%. These are the concerns they had. These are the changes that we made to the laws, to the proposed laws. And insurance company D and E are still pushing back, but A, B, and C support it, so let's run with it. And associations, when the associations get to hear that type of conversation taking place, that's powerful, because that's what our UDA, one of our association team members, representatives, got to listen in. And it was amazing, because she stated, wow, you've got the CEO of this insurance company on your speed dial. Tracy's like, yeah. You got their email? Yeah. And she stated, we here at the UDA have never sat down and had those types of conversations ever with insurance players to represent and support our dental association members.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, now what's really fun, Trace, is it gave our company even more trust and clout with the association than it had before. We already have it, but for her to see that and be able to report back to the leaders of the team, that's powerful.
And I think that the associations also have a role to play. And you can no longer say you signed a contract. That's not leadership, it's deflection. I think that the associations should be facilitators, just like we see in our state. They should help bridge gaps. They should encourage dialogue, not discourage it. The dentists don't need cheerleaders.
No.
They really don't.
We don't need cheerleaders telling us to drop insurance plans.
Yeah.
We need representatives that want a different future. And we cannot keep repeating the same behaviors that we've done over and over again, because again, we have been effective leaders in the state of Utah and surrounding states to advocate for change and advocate for trust and advocate for working together with the insurance companies instead of against them. So
to dentists and office managers, I'm going to encourage you to read your contracts. You'd be pretty amazed to see what you can do per your contracts. You need to make sure that you ask better questions. Instead of close and open conversations where you just get yes or no answers, ask open-ended questions. How can I make this happen? What do you suggest? If you were in my shoes, how would you do this? Seek connection before conflict. There was a situation with an insurance company where the number one thing we had to do was agree on frequencies. And per our generally accepted practice standards, we were in agreement with how often certain things should be done. And so once we established that, it was really nice being able to move forward to fix a problem. Now, if you're an insurance company, I encourage you to lead with transparency, making sure that you're clear with what you do or do not cover is really important. Try to avoid inclusive language. That's something that creates confusion and starts it causes potential damage to the doctor-patient relationship. So either something's covered or it's not. Make sure that you're clear with that. Engage instead of defend. You should be able to explain your reasoning behind something. And then from there, hopefully the office understands and is able to address their concerns in a way that accommodates some of your policies, but maybe looking at things from a different perspective would be good for them. And then collaborate instead of control. Stop it with the you sign a contract or you can leave. That's not the mentality, and that's not the way that we should be working together.
It's just like the one representative from Regents. I love her openness and honesty. It's like, our policies aren't here to make you go bankrupt. Our policies are here to give us guidance so that, you dentists need business courses. You need to understand how to code and bill properly for the things that you do. And just because it says inclusive, with non-covered service laws doesn't mean you write it off.
No.
We have, they state we just have generic answers that obviously she says need to be updated. But until then, learn what you can do. Learn how you can push back and do it, in a collaborative way, not in a defensive way. Because you guys, progress doesn't come from threats or ultimatums. It comes when we work together. And Utah, My Practice, My Business, more specifically, Tracy Thorup, is leading by example. And if collaboration can work here, it can work anywhere. Thoughts on that, hun?
I think you said it very well.
Well, we appreciate all of you listening, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Again, thanks to all of our listeners. And again, here's to 2026. Thanks again.
Thank you for being with us today. Since 2006, My Practice, My Business has been teaching dentists and their teams business skills, dental insurance contractual protocols, and state laws governing how to profitably bill patients fairly for the need-based services they provide. What's more, we guarantee our training, unlike other dental consulting companies in the industry. Simply stated, if you don't increase your net revenue, we don't get paid. We call it dental consulting the way it should be. We believe there has never been a more important time than now for dentists to experience and implement our key methods, knowledge, and business training within their dental practices. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company and the services we provide. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the most profitable dental business training that you will ever experience. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.